delayed in court.
You still have large numbers of people being busted for simple possession. If you look at the stats in terms of drug offenses, the largest group are still simple possession of marijuana.
Every time you blow a marijuana cigarette, you take a chance on blowing your future.
Oh, come on, Pop. All my friends smoke pot. They're not criminals.
Only because they haven't been caught yet.
If you do drugs, you will be caught. And when you're caught, you will be punished.
750,000 Americans every year are charged with pot possession. That's nearly 1 million people, and whether you go to jail or not, your life is in serious trouble.
And that number of annual arrests for marijuana now rivals the number of arrests for murder, rape, robbery, and aggravated assault combined.
You will never get over a conviction. A conviction will track you every day for the rest of your life. For instance, do you remember that guy that used to smoke but didn't inhale? Former President Bill Clinton.
This is not a big issue with me. I never even had a drink of whiskey till I was 22.
Now, if Mr. Clinton handed me that marijuana cigarette when he was standing in a circle with us, it wouldn't matter whether he inhaled or not. He would have become a dope dealer, wouldn't he? Just like all those other people that went to jail. Never to be an attorney, much less the President of the United States.
But the marijuana laws protect us. They make our lives safer. They send us the correct moral message.
That's how 19 out of 21 nations have gone down the drain before us. Internal decay. The breakdown of moral, ethical, and religious principles.
If you've been caught, a young person in the U.S., with so much as one marijuana cigarette, you can't get a loan or grant from the government to go to college. If you've been convicted of murdering somebody or raping someone, no problem. You go right down, they'll give you the loan. I guess the message is it's okay to rape and murder and pillage, just don't smoke a joint afterwards.
First thing that John Ashcroft did after 9/11, sent out a strike force to take down the LA Cannabis Buyers Co-op. That really helped national security a great deal.
And what else helps national security? Taking down top criminal targets. In 2003, the US government put aside money to do just that. $25 million for the head of Osama bin Laden, $15 million each for the whereabouts of Uday and Qusay Hussein, Saddam's sons, and a $12 million budget to go after one of the most dangerous men of all, this man.
Can you tell us what exactly you were charged with?
I was charged with conspiring to sell paraphernalia.
Operation Pipe Dreams was a brainstorm of Attorney General John Ashcroft.
The internet has been illegally utilized to sell these illegal products and to facilitate large illegal businesses operating in the open.
A sting operation that busted people for selling paraphernalia to a particular county in Pennsylvania where they were willing to prosecute.
Because there's 2 states, Pennsylvania, Iowa. Void were prohibited. Well, it was prohibited to send it to Pennsylvania and Iowa.
A man like yourself that is, an established actor, comedian, you're not a criminal. Like, why do you think they targeted you?
Well, because our movies were #1 rentals in America. What our movies did was really show the hypocrisy of the pot laws. In fact, when I went to jail, they had it in the transcript that our movies have influenced children for 30 years and will continue to do so forever. Therefore, I should go to jail. You got to remember, they were going into Iraq, and they needed some diversion as far as headlines go. And they equated the billion-dollar paraphernalia business with aiding terrorists. This was a legitimate company paying taxes. I was just the face on the bone. They charged me. I had nothing to do with the company. I never shipped anything to anybody.
It wasn't even his company. He just loaned his name to it. 51 people were arrested under Operation Pipe Dreams. Only one person, Tommy Chong, went to jail.
But if I didn't plead, they threatened my son and my wife.
Tommy stands up and volunteers to go to jail, says, yeah, okay, that's my paraphernalia. You leave my wife and kid alone. He's protecting his family.
What kind of force was used on the day you were arrested?
There was over 20 SWAT team people, visors, automatic weapons, helicopters overhead. They had news trucks, Fox News trucks outside. They had the media on the ready. It was a photo op for everybody. They asked, do I have any drugs? And I said, yeah, I got pot, and they wanted to know where it was, so I told them. They said, well, it's not really a drug bust. I said, well, then what the are you doing in my house, Then they said, it's about bongs. We're bringing down all the bong companies in America.
And with Tommy safely behind bars for 9 months, the United States drug war reset its sights, this time across borders. In downtown Vancouver, just outside the U.S. consulate, a bunch of people had gotten together and were having a rally for this guy named Mark Emery. He had evidently been selling seeds, marijuana seeds, to the wrong people.
Let me tell you, the DEA wants me because I am very good at what I do.
Well, obviously, I'm the most dangerous man alive. Like, really. Like, no wonder I'm facing life imprisonment without parole for something that no one's ever gone to jail for here in Canada. No one's ever gone to jail for seeds, not even for a day.
Mark and 2 of his employees are facing life in prison in the United States. Not Canada, the United States, for selling marijuana seeds over the internet.
Vancouver police came in here with a warrant for an extradition, but we were taken then to North Fraser Correctional Center of the year 2002. Beautiful facility.
Mark Emery has gotten in the face of the United States.
The U.S. sees Mark Emery as a major political threat to its anti-cannabis agenda.
In a press release from Karen Tandy, head of the DEA, she said that this is not only the end of marijuana trafficking, but it's a blow to the marijuana legalization movement.
I gave just under $4 million away over 11 years to Supreme Court challenges, ballot initiatives, political parties, drug addiction clinics. Well, if you're the DEA, who the hell do you think you're going to go after first and foremost and as viciously as you can do it?
I think they even admitted it themselves when on the day of the raid, the DEA announced, he's a legalizer. We're shutting down one of the biggest legalizers. The legalization movement won't have a pot of money to draw from. Ha 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 ha.
Mark Emery has never gone to America and sold a seed. He does it all from here by mail order. And it's akin to Canadians ordering, a machine gun from somewhere in America. It's against the law. And if we receive it here in Canada, they come and arrest us for receiving the machine gun. They don't go to America and say to Colt, hi, we're arresting you because you sent a machine gun to someone in Canada.
No one's been sentenced to any time in jail in the history of Canada. In 35 years, we've had this law. 2 people, me and Ian Hunter in Victoria, were fined.
There's all sorts of seed businesses still open. Mark's the only one out of about 50 retail cannabis seed businesses in Canada that's been charged.
Mark has been paying the Canadian federal government taxes on income he has made from selling seeds.
The government relied on the existence of these internet seed sellers so that patients who had qualified for medical marijuana exemptions, who were bugging them for seed, were being directed to these internet seeds, and Mark Emery specifically in some cases is the place to get their seed.
It puts Canada and our government in a very difficult position because they've either got to hand over a Canadian citizen to a foreign government for activities that were entirely done in Canada, for which our own government, our own police are not willing to charge him.
If the Canadian authorities who rubber stamp this shit think that what I've done is so bad, then charge me. I should be tried by a jury of my peers. I'm not about to be tried by my peers at all. I'm about to be tried by foreigners.
At 420, a time synonymous with smoking marijuana, everyone lit up. And for those who didn't have marijuana to light up, again the police were close by, and again they didn't seem to care. One officer had mentioned she was bothered by the smell of the smoke. It was kind of confusing. How could we be sending Mark Emery to prison for life in the United States if even our own police aren't finding it worth their while to bust people smoking it right in front of them? That's not the only thing that's confusing.
The marijuana that's consumed in the United States, how much comes from Canada?
I don't know much about Canada. I don't either.
Maybe 20%?
I'll go with 35.
35%?
And a quarter.
50%. 50? 50%. I would say about 60%. 60%? 70%. Yeah, 70, 80%.
At least 80% of it.
Whew. I don't think it's all that much.
Most of it is here.
We're getting the drug czar saying, oh, BC bud.
This was when some of the people in Canada were trying to get marijuana legalized. John Walters went up there and said, what you're talking about is passing a law that will allow you to export poison to my country. When we talk about poison, exporting poison, what do we export to Canada? Cigarettes. 430,000 people die in the United States every year from ingesting cigarettes. 5 million around the world. So who's exporting the poison here?
Of the 6 million people who could benefit from treatment and need it in the United States today, 60% are dependent on marijuana. They invited me. I'm sorry.
I wasn't sure who invited him and why he came here yet again. He's been here before.
He needs to shake his head. So how about him shutting down the cocaine that's coming across the border? How about him shutting down the guns? Sometimes you feel like you've stepped into Alice in Wonderland. You've gone through the looking glass.
In fact, more Colombians die from U.S. tobacco than Americans die from Colombian coca products. So what's the drug war really about? Because if you don't want American tobacco in your country, America will go to war in a trade sense with your country.
You have Canada engage in cannabis policy reform and taxing and regulating cannabis, and all the scare stories haven't come true. You have an awfully hard time sustaining your own domestic policies.
What do you think would happen between Canada and the U.S. if Canada were to legalize marijuana? There's been rumors that, they're like, we'll shut down the border.
I don't think so. I've heard that too, but then my question is, would you want LA, in the dark and thirsty? If you do that, then we're not going to ship oil, we're not going to ship water, we're not going to ship electricity. It's not going to happen. We're too important to each other.
The softwood lumber people going to stop doing business? The fishing guys going to stop doing business? Are the people who manufacture stuff back and forth across the border going to stop doing business because pot's legal here?
Business interests aren't going to sit still for losing millions of dollars a day because of border wait times simply because Canada takes a different domestic social policy on cannabis.
Yes, business interests. Sometimes they just seem to pop up. And every so often in the most unlikely of places.
We have seen an explosion in prison construction that lags only slightly behind the explosion in incarceration.
There are more people in jail in America now than ever before.
In the United States, it's one of the fastest growing industries.
Some major investment companies at one time described private prisons as one of the best investments you could make.
So you can make more money building prisons than any other type of investment.
They're extraordinarily expensive to build. They're even far more expensive to operate and maintain.
Right now in the United States of America, the biggest growth industry is the privatized prison complex.